Thanks, Stuart, for that introduction there. Yeah, as Stuart said, my name's Paul McGorman. I'm a local South Australian farmer here, so welcome everybody. See, got some little bit of rain is starting to roll in, so hopefully for all our farmers in SA here, we actually get something out of this. I farm with my wife Kimberly these days on a smaller property in the Barossa Valley, which is about 45 minutes from here. At the start of my Nuffield journey, I was actually farming on Kangaroo Island with a larger mixed property there. And you often hear about Nuffield scholars, how they, through their studies, at the end of their studies, they sell their farm. I got keen and I actually sold our farm at the start of my Nuffield journey, so boots and all into my Nuffield venture. Also, when I started out with my Nuffield journey, my topic was on agricultural spray drones, so completely different from what I'm doing now. So looking into that. And it pretty much when I was in Brazil, I was listening and on our CSC, really sort of sitting there and really starting to question why is my topic the best topic for this opportunity. It's such a unique opportunity that the Nuffield venture has given us. Was it really worthy of that? And it wasn't until probably I was then on my GFP. We were travelling through Denmark with Joe Kelly, who presented yesterday. And that was just at the timing when the Danish government introduced their carbon tax on livestock emissions. So what's really interesting actually about this carbon tax is that around 20% of that income that's generated from the carbon tax is going towards biochar production and adoption over in Denmark. So you can really sort of see that the Danish government, they're putting a huge focus on biochar as a way to move towards net zero for those guys. Excuse me. I haven't got a cold, but I'm thinking to lose my voice. So from that, you could really see, well, it's just Denmark that was rolling in this sort of strategy of biochar adoption. It was going to move through Europe, and I can see there's a big opportunity for Aussie farmers to really become aware of and how they could be applied to the Australian situation. So, what actually is biochar? You notice there's some little sample pots on your tables there. My daughter Charlie was busy filling them up last night. It's not. I did hear someone say about black garlic. If you try tasting it, you might notice a difference there. So what biochar is looks very similar to charcoal. You're probably sort of thinking, well, all right, it's not black garlic, but maybe it's charcoal. So what it is, where it differs from charcoal is that biochar is actually burnt in a low oxygen environment. So the carbon dioxide that would normally go up to the atmosphere in the burning process or decomposition process of organic material is actually captured in this product. So the biochar is very unique that way there. It's one of the best carbon stores around, and the unique nature of it makes it really great, certain opportunities for soil health and a few different other sort of things. So where you can use it with soil health is it acts like a sponge. Biggest misconception I think with biochar is that people think it's a fertiliser. Now, it is not a fertiliser, and that's where a lot of people have gone wrong with it and been turned right off the product. So what it does, it acts like a sponge. So if you apply it to your soils, it'll actually hold and retain moisture, so then your plants can access that moisture at a later date. It will hold and retain nutrients, be home for microbes there, so it really help to build that soil strength. So when mixed with fertilisers, it will actually bind some of the fertilisers there so you can retain, the plants can actually access those nutrients at a later date, so it reduces leaching, which is great for our soils down here in the south. So there's a range of different benefits, not just for the soil health. Animal health is a big way there too, so feeding it to animals, water filtration, air filtration, and cleaning up pollutants in the soil. So the mining industry are big users of biochar. And more so these days we're looking actually into the built environment, so concrete and that sort of applications. So the whole biochar process, thought I'd just quickly run through actually how biochar is created, because I'm not expecting everybody to be experts or have too much knowledge about it in the room here. So basically you take an organic material such as timber, wheat straw, almond hulls. That's actually what the biochar is in these jars. you feed it through a pyrolysis machine. So this is basically a big reactor chamber sort of thing where the organic material goes in, it is heated or charred at a temperatures between 300 and 900 degrees Celsius, and you'll vary that depending on what quality you're looking for. And then what comes out is, one, you've got biochar. Two is syngas. So syngas is the gases that are released through this charring process. A lot of that can actually be put back through and it will run as a self-sustaining unit. So once you actually fire this machine up, it's pretty cheap to run. It will run itself there. What the other advantage as well with the syngas is that you can actually use it as an off-take. So use that heat energy somewhere else to potentially heat greenhouses, convert it to electricity and get some income from using it that way. Then the other more recent sort of development with biochar is carbon credits, and this is where we're seeing some real big applications on the global scale. Some massive sort of units coming in around the world based on using carbon credits and generating income there. So with my travels, I travel the world looking at different production methods. So starting on the top right there, really simple. Dig a hole, throw some sticks in it and light her up. Cheap, but not that really effective with biochar. So some more basic sort of units in Japan and then the US, like mounted on the back of trailers, which is great because you can actually take it out to where the feed stock was and reduce your miles down that way. But still, there's issues with quality with the scale of those operations. To more centralised units in New Zealand and the US there as well, where you bring the feedstock to the plant there, to large industrial scales, and that one happens to be on Kangaroo Island, not that far from our old farm. Also had a look at like different applications, how people are using it around the world. The top right picture there I've got is in California where they're deep ripping biochar and laying it down to the root zone there. And then they're coming back and they're planting vineyards or almond groves on top of it. So they've been doing studies there for over 7 years, some really positive economic results there. In Italy, it was just sort of broadcasting in between rows on existing vineyards and then sort of cultivating it in. Seen in the horticultural sector, seen it in Japan there, on broad-scale applications as well, just mixing with compost and spreading compost out in paddocks. In Australia, starting to use granulized forms. So then the broadacre guys, the big croppers, can actually start to use it, or urea-coated applications there as well. So that's sort of some new technology starting to come in with those ones. So looking at the opportunities for Australian farmers with biochar is, number one is probably actually using it. There is biochar production in Australia, so you can go out and actually buy it yourself. It's a small industry, but you can go buy it and start trialling it. We're trialling it on our farm, so mixing it with pig manure and spreading it and cultivating it in with some really positive results so far. So trialling it, and I guess with biochar, it's not just for organic, it's not just for regen, and it's not just if you've got your own marketing label that you're trying to get the green credentials with, but it can be applied for anyone who actually just wants to improve their bottom line, their profit line of their business. There's applications across all scales there, so that's the beauty, I think, of it, to actually give it a go. Now, I did go see some applications, so the next phase on would be to set up a biochar plant on your property. So there are people around the world, so farmers around the world who have done exactly that. So these are large-scale grain growers who have set up a biochar plant on their property. They're using the wheat straw as a feedstock. That's getting fed through the machine. So it's a lower value. There is still a value cost to it, but it's a lower value. Fed through their machine, the biochar that comes out, they then mixing that with their fertilisers, and they're reducing their chemical fertilisers by about 30 to 40% without any yield loss. So the economics can stack up. Where it can work better is if they can add value by utilising that heat energy that has been created there. So if they can partner that with a greenhouse or something like that, that's where it can work. Geez, my hand's looking a little shaky. Put that down. got a mate who holds his pork glass like that too. Always worry with him. Another opportunity, I think, for Aussie farmers is the co-op model. I saw a great example in Italy where there's an olive processing plant, member-owned, and what they'll do, they'll use vineyard prunings as their feedstock. So most guys who have olives also have vines. So they get the vineyard prunings, that's fed into the machine. It's geared in such a way that they're really generating a lot of electricity from the biochar production. That electricity is used to power all their olive processing plant, and they actually have extra power that they sell back to the grid, so they make income there. And then they put the biochar, give back to the farmers, and they put that back onto their paddocks. So it's a great example of a circular economy in action, adds a green marketing edge to that business, and if they really was going to push it harder, they could probably start doing carbon credits with it as well. But they're doing very successful how they're going there now. So the next step for me is to keep learning about biochar, the different applications of biochar. So that's our farm, keep spreading the shit, and the biochar, and have a crack at different things. So like biochar can use in a range of different applications. As I said, I'd like to just finally acknowledge and thank my sponsors, GRDC and Nuffield Australia, both whom have been very accommodating to me with my change of topic. Also like to thank Chantel from iTravel in Griffith for also being very accommodating for my continuous sort of change of flight paths and that. And finally I'd like to thank my family, so my wife Kimberly, who is here up the back today, and my children Ava, Archie and Charlie, all who are my biggest cheerleaders and certainly have joined me with my Nuffield adventures and really embraced the Nuffield spirit with me. So thank you.